Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Aquarius, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of December. We are looking for the lesson here today. I hope you're well, and I'm using the Crow Tarot for you. I did these readings for about 2 years solidly, and then I mothballed them in the summer because I needed to pull back a little bit of time for myself. But I brought them back as a Christmas present for you. Not sure if they'll reappear in January, but we'll just see how it goes. Little bit of housekeeping before we start. I have completed the 6-month overviews for each of the signs running from January to June 2023. That is the first link in the description box. The second link in the description box is to my private community over on Circle, the Order of the Phoenix. If you're interested in seeing what that's all about, do feel free to follow that link. And let's talk about looking for the lesson. This is essentially an exercise in perspective. There won't be an extender to this, and we're going to keep it pretty short, because what it's designed to do is help you see more easily where you're going rather than where you are right now. Well, let's kind of explain that a little bit better. Sometimes when things are hard, and I do recall that the Tower came out for just about every single sign in December, it's very easy to get bogged down in the drama and the drudgery of whatever it is that's going on in our lives. And what we often miss is the intrinsic lesson or the wisdom that is being presented to us if we're open to it. So we miss opportunities to close out situations, we miss opportunities to embrace things, we miss insights about ourselves. This reading is designed to help you try and see that, right? It helps us navigate through the difficult times if we can work out where it is that we are going. So to that end, what we're going to do is pull 3 cards for your current energy right now as an energetic snapshot. Where is Aquarius? And the next set of cards is going to be, why are you there? What is trying to be shown to you? And like I said, sometimes it's trying to show you something about yourself. Sometimes it's trying to show you that something needs to end or something needs to begin. We won't know until the cards hit the table. It could be something else altogether. But I think it's quite an interesting exercise in perspective and bringing a sense of mindfulness to ourselves and the way that we're living at any given point. We'll close out with some cards of advice, 3 of those, and hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, stick around, I'm sure it will in a second. So, can I have 3 cards for Aquarius's energy right now? Where is Aquarius, please? We have the Queen of Swords out first. Oof. There it is. We have the 4 of Wands. It's kind of teetering around like that. I'll pop that down like that. One more for where Aquarius is. And we have the 4 of Cups. What I get a really strong sense of, let me just flip this around so you can see what we're looking at, is a feeling of uncertainty with you at the moment. It's really, really strong, Aquarius. And what that relates to, I'm not entirely sure. I do know that we have the Ace of Cups at the bottom of the deck, so there's definitely some sense of the relationship that you have with yourself that seems to be not unstable. Unstable is the wrong word, but it certainly seems to be under review at the moment. Because we've got the Queen of Swords, which is Libra energy, and it's very much concerned with being discerning, right? It's about passing a great deal of information. It feels like there's a lot for you to think about at the moment, and you're trying to sift through it and make sure that you understand what it's about and what's going on and whatnot. But then you've got these 2 cards that are numbered 4 here. And in numerology, the 4 is it's foundational level energy. And so this uncertainty could be relating to your home, your family, where you live, all that sort of thing. But it feels more like how you live. Now, like I said at the beginning there, it felt like I'm almost certain that just about every sign got the Tower. I think maybe Sagittarius didn't, but pretty much every sign got the Tower. And it came out repeatedly during the 6-month overviews for each of the signs too. It was a very present and real sense of change that was present in each of those readings. And I do remember saying in the 6-month overviews that January seemed to be the point for most people where that that Tower energy started to come in, but I did those in November, and then I came to the December readings to do those, and actually there was that same feeling of a rumble starting there. So it's actually starting much earlier than the beginning of the year. What you are going through right now in terms of the uncertainty that you feel and the information that you seem to be trying to process at the moment is in a space where you are questioning that which underpins everything that you are and how you live, the people that surround you, the things that feel like home, the relationship that you have with yourself. You know, the way that sometimes, well, for some of you, you can certainly feel isolated, but you bring yourself to that place. Now, it's really interesting. I was watching something by Tarot by Bronx the other day on Instagram, and she was talking about this axis between Leo and Aquarius, and she said the best way to describe this axis between them is to imagine all of the signs standing in a circle. Now, Leo will step forwards and be in the center of the circle, and they will attract attention to themselves in that way because of that, right? They're like, okay, we're here. I'm going to pull you all together. I'm going to lead you. I'm going to do all of these things. Aquarius, on the other hand, goes, fuck this, and walks away from the circle and draws exactly the same amount of attention to themselves for doing so, but by doing it in a different way. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up, and I feel like it's quite important, is because of this Four of Cups. Like this turning away and walking away from something, going, fuck it, I'm going to go and do my own thing. It's built into your cosmological DNA, being an Aquarius in the first instance. But I wonder if there's something that you've discovered, whether it is as a result of trauma that you have experienced in the past, and I think we've all got trauma of some description, you know, and people deal with it differently. Aquarians tend to become very self-reliant, very opposed to collective thinking about things. Like, you're always going to go and do your own thing. It's one of the reasons why, you know, you tend to kick out quite an authentic vibe. But it's the tension between this energy and this energy that is really drawing my attention here. So this card kind of came out sideways as it is here, right? And that way around, it's wonderful. It's that feeling of home and stability and security, and it's us creating the foundation for where we go next. That's how I read that card. But it's come out sideways for you. It's not come up in the reverse. So what we haven't got is you pulling away from, you know, different relationships that you have, or you know, separating yourself. More, it feels to me like there's a desire for this, but there's a discomfort in the desire for that too. It's bringing up all sorts of things that it feels to me like you're being asked to work through, and this Four of Cups is it. Do you isolate yourself deliberately, and is that in any way compatible with creating this kind of life for yourself? Well, you know, you could argue the toss to and fro for a little bit, but I think it's fairly clear that those two energies are not compatible. And so where it is that you are feeling that level of uncertainty within you, toward you, about you, you know, what do I stand for? What do I want for the rest of my life? What does it say about my relationship with myself if I'm at a point where by default I don't push people away, but I keep people at arm's length, and I don't ask for help, and I don't do any of these things. When this card here talks about community and warmth and intimacy and interdependence, often, you know, you seem to me to be questioning all of the big things, but from that very appropriate point of you. How am I causing this? Is this actually what I really want? Am I repeating patterns from the past? Am I repeating a level of I had a boyfriend once who called me psychopathically independent, which I actually quite liked at the time, and now I see is a trauma response, you know. There is a way to be independent without losing your ability to connect with that which might nourish you. And the way that this Four of Wands is appearing here, and it is a portal card, it does talk about there being a step through that is required from you here. Well, it's kind of being blocked by this. Makes me feel like you're leaning towards the idea that interdependence is not only where you want to be moving forwards, but it's possibly where you need to be. And how do you square that off against the fact that everything about it makes you feel uncertain, it makes you feel vulnerable, it makes you feel like you're potentially walking into a bit of a trap. It's really interesting energy, Aquarius. Let's have a look and see why you are in this energy in the first place. Tell me. We have the Page of Pentacles. We have the Hanged Man and the Ten of Wands. Very interesting. And we have to finish there the Empress. Interesting. Few signs have had the Empress here. So the reason why you're in this energy at the moment is here. The Page of Pentacles is an initiatory energy, right? So it talks about starting something. It's the lowest rung of the court hierarchy. So it's a beginning spot. But it talks of many other things besides. For me, the way that you differentiate between the aces and the pages, both talking about starting something new, is that the ace is something entirely new that you have not experienced before. The page and all the pages actually, the Page of Pentacles is about taking something that you already have and kind of bending it off in a different direction. Right? It can be about breaking patterns, and it all comes about by way of understanding what is important. You know, the way that this bird is looking at this pentacle here, it's like, holy shit, what is this cool thing hanging in this tree? How do I get more of these? It's like it's the first time he's ever noticed it. Now, what it is that is of value will be different for each of you, but I think for a sizable proportion of you, there is going to be a sense of self, a value of self that is incorporated in the meaning of this card here. And then we have the Hanged Man and the Ten of Wands. Now, the Hanged Man is an energy of changing your perspective so entirely that you see the world from a completely different angle than the one that you're used to. And the purpose of that, you know, doing it voluntarily, is to gain wisdom, is to see outside of the very narrow viewpoint that each of us have. You know, flip yourself right upside down and look at things differently. And the change of perspective here for you seems to be on what it is that you find hard. You know, the Ten of Wands is a card of burden. So what is it that you find hard, and why do you find it hard? Right? This is what you're being asked to look at. This uncertainty that you feel is coming about because you've done everything the way that you always do it, but things are changing. Something's changed subtly within you, and it requires, as a result, a different kind of behavior, a different kind of investment from you. And what it all seems to be hinging on is this, for me, is the axis between the Ten of Wands and the Four of Cups. Do you push people away? Are you psychopathically independent because you have learned that you cannot rely on people? You learned that they will, for example, try and fashion you into what they want you to be rather than what you are. I mean, that would be extremely vexatious for a fixed sign. Do you keep people at arm's length because you're frightened of relying on people? Are you frightened of being needy? Are you frightened of coming across as emotional? And then the question would be, why is that so? Because the Ten of Wands, for me, I mean, obviously it's a card of burden, but more than that, it tends to be a card of literally making things fucking hard for yourself. And the change of perspective is the acknowledgement of how you have deliberately made things hard for yourself because it fit a certain kind of mindset that you had at an early point in your life, and then from then on it's just a kind of, you know, reinventing the wheel over and over again. The cycle just continues. But the energy that you're in at the moment is about breaking out of that altogether. Now, one of the meanings of this card for me is it talks about rejection and everything around that, sometimes the act of rejecting too. When it flips around in the reverse, for me it talks about gratitude, and that's one of the things that the Empress talks of too. Is there any way that you could find it within yourself to be grateful for the possibility of warmth and community and people being there for you, people closely mirroring you? Oh shit, I mean, Aquarius, is that one of the things that you find uncomfortable, is the fact that you see yourself in other people? You know, we do tend to mirror people, and you know, when the really awful people come along that trigger the shit out of us, right, they're showing us something within ourselves that need to be healed. You know, the Four of Cups can talk about abandonment issues, where what you want to do is to come together. You don't want to be outside in the cold anymore, but the trust issues are really, really strong. And maybe even just the way that you perceive how you show up in relationships is something that isn't exactly accurate, I guess. I would just say this thing, we judge ourselves by our actions and other people, by our intentions, and other people by their actions. And I wonder if you were to flip that around, just to look at things from another perspective, somebody else's perspective. If they judged you by your actions and themselves by their intentions, how much would that change the landscape of your understanding of yourself and the way you show up in relationships and all those kind of things? Because I see you reaching out for something that is warm and comfortable. I see you reaching out for something that is actually kind of emotional in nature here. Is it emotional support that you want? And if you do want that and you won't let yourself have it, then what is the reason for it, Aquarius? What is it that you're trying to protect yourself from? I mean, it feels to me that this energy that you're in at the moment, the uncertainty that I felt as soon as the reading started, is challenging notions of identity that you have set up, or you know, the way in which you understand yourself, and perhaps even your understanding of life itself. What is the purpose for it? What is the reason for it? How do we get through? There definitely seems to be a turning, literally a turning here, but a movement away from the notion that Aquarius is an island and, you know, can function really well on themselves, by themselves, to this idea that actually some sort of interleaving with other people might be a good thing. Maybe the uncertainty is not knowing where this feeling has come from, and it being quite an unsettling feeling. It's definitely pushing you towards something good, though. But it is going to require you to leave your comfort zone. Whatever that looks like at the moment. Because you seem to be leaning towards people, and that seems to be making you really uncomfortable. Give me some advice for Aquarius, please. Thank you. We have the Five of Swords with the Nine of Pentacles. Oof, we have the Six of Cups and the Six of Pentacles. We have the King of Pentacles and the Three of Pentacles. Oh, wow. I have no idea why we've ended up with double cards for each one of these, but I can see the meaning very, very clearly. I mean, we'll start off here. We've got the Five of Swords. I mean, this is talking about the ways in which your perceptions are somewhat off. They are somewhat wonky. for me, the Five of Swords talks about cognitive loops, right? And those patterns of thinking that we get stuck in, and then we can't see a way out of it. This turning of the Four of Wands seems to be coming from a place that you do not recognize within yourself. I think that's why you feel so unsettled and so uncertain about everything, because you're used to being very logical about stuff, being very rational about stuff. Your card is the King of Swords. You're used to making the decisions, and sometimes making the hard decisions, because you push emotion and all of the kind of warm fuzzy stuff to one side. But this is saying here, you've been sabotaging yourself, and until you recognize that you are sabotaging yourself and trying to isolate all of your pentacles and whatever they represent, which for me can be time, care, money, effort, love, all of those things, while you're trying to keep yourself so self-contained, you're actually missing out on the possibility of building something really beautiful with other people who are worthy of that vulnerability that you seem to be so resistant to showing at this point. Like, the unsettled feeling that I have it feels a bit like my skin crawling on my back. It's just kind of like, I don't like this. I don't know what this is. It's showing you where you've got stuck in a pattern of thinking. And more than that, though, it's showing you how that pattern of thinking is something that possibly needs to be relegated to the past. I mean, that's certainly the originating point of it here with this Six of Cups. But is it relevant to the here and now? I mean, yes, it might have kept you alive all of this time, but being kept alive isn't enough. This is what you want. This is why this card is slowly turning around there. But look at this crow, it's sidelining it here. It's like, fuck no, I don't want that. So the Queen of Swords is also pointing to it and going, well, this is kind of what you want. Like, it feels like you're being pulled in two different directions, and the bit of you that is resistant to it feels like it's a part of you that belongs back here with the Six of Cups. And the Six of Pentacles is talking about the need to bring something into balance here, because it is out of balance. And it's out of balance in favour of the past. The survival mechanisms that you put in place in the past. And the cards are saying it's really time to get over it, because it's time for you to start building something. And I do feel like it's building a community of some sort. Now, that for some of you, that might be something as big as I don't know, setting up a Patreon or something like that, right? Having that kind of community. But for others of you, it is about getting in touch with people who can help you create a new foundation that takes into account who you are now rather than who you have always been. The King of Pentacles here is here, and it's another Taurus card as underneath the Empress, and it could be that there's a Taurus that's really important here in this, but I actually feel like the King of Pentacles is more like you, which is an interesting shift, because although all of the kings have their natural counterparts in the queens, the King of Swords does that have that kind of isolated feel about him, whereas the King of Pentacles is someone who thrives when he has people who depend on him, right? He shows up and he provides. Now, he needs to provide for people, and we've got the Three of Pentacles here. We've got cooperation and collaboration and teamwork, working together with other people to build things. It feels like we've even got the star there. Look, right, the star is the card of Aquarius in the major arcana. But this draw to provide feels really closely associated with this Four of Wands. But it's almost like you've got to get in it, Aquarius. You can't do this from the outside. You need to get on the inside, and you need to have people work. You need to be working with people. You need to be cooperating, collaborating with people, pulling something together to grow, to build. And more importantly, accepting who you are now, and accepting this being a facet of who you are, just as this has been a facet of who you are for the longest time. But everything's getting ready to shift with you. Like, I wouldn't be concerned about the uncertainty and the unsettled feeling that you've got. It is literally just you being jiggled around to be made uncomfortable so that you move and do something different to what you've been doing all of this time, right? To rattle yourself out of a particular mindset that you might have been in for your entire life, but is now no longer useful to you in the way that it was before. I honestly, Aquarius, I think you've outgrown something here. You just haven't noticed that you've outgrown it yet, and so you're holding on to it out of a sense of habit. And really what you need to do is give yourself a dust down and look at the situation that is in front of you. Acknowledge the feeling that seems to be pulling you towards this desire for a state of union, this portal that is asked of you to walk through. And start getting to a place where you can be creative and provide. Again, a feeling that seems to be coming out of nowhere for you, one that you haven't been able to reconcile or make sense of, and yet it persists. I actually really like this for you, Aquarius, because it suggests to me, come January, I can't even remember what was in your reading for the 6-month overviews, but come January, you'll be making some big changes. And you won't be doing them alone, because you choose to work with other people to bring this about, and that's huge. Alright, I'm going to leave it there. Good Lord, what an awful noise. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.